I remember the first time I really read the book of James, and I didn't get very far into it, and I got really confused. I got to James chapter 1, verse 2, and I read this. Dear brothers and sisters, whenever trouble comes your way, let it be an opportunity for joy. I read this and I thought, what the heck does James mean? Anytime you go through a time of trouble, let it be an opportunity for joy. I thought about this and thought, when do I feel joy in my life? And when I'm with family, when I'm with loved ones, with friends, when I'm relaxed, when life is going well, I feel joy. So how can I possibly feel joy when I'm going through difficult circumstances? He continues saying this. Whenever trouble comes your way, let it be an opportunity for joy. For when your faith is tested, your endurance has a chance to grow. So let it grow. For when your endurance is fully developed, you will be strong in character and ready for anything. This light bulb moment happened for me. I realized, okay, what he's saying here is when we go through difficult circumstances, it's an opportunity for our faith in God to grow. It's an opportunity for our trust in God to grow. When you go through a tough time, a difficult situation, you always have a chance, you have a choice to run towards God or to run away from God. Every time you struggle, this is a chance to go, God, I want to see your goodness in my circumstances. Every time I go through a difficult situation, my prayer is that heaven would come to earth. Jesus teaches us to pray, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So if earth is not reflecting heaven, that's my prayer. God, in this difficult situation, I want your goodness to come and be a reality for me. This reminded me immediately of the book of Job. If you've ever heard of the book of Job, it's a pretty crazy situation where this man who loves God and is devoted to God goes through a really difficult time. Job was a wealthy man. He had lots of livestock. He had lots of servants and farmers. He had a beautiful family and a beautiful wife. And one day life took a rough turn for him. These messengers came to Job and said, you know what, Job, some raiders have come and they've stolen all of your donkeys and your oxen, and they've killed all of your farmers. Some fires have come and burned up all of your sheep. Some more raiders have come and they've stolen your camels and they've killed your servants. This is a rough time for Job. He's a wealthy man and he's just had his whole business destroyed. But it gets worse. Before that messenger finishes, another one comes and says, your children were all gathered together in the house of your eldest son, and they were having a meal together when a storm came and the house collapsed, killing your children. And it's at this point that Job is overcome with grief, and he tears his robes and he falls to his knees and he worships God. And I think, how? Job, how could you be so faithful to God in this difficult situation? And Job realized this one thing. God's goodness is not dependent on our circumstances. No matter what you are going through, God is still good. And He wants to come into the middle of your circumstances and reveal that goodness to you. And so Job cries out to God. In the midst of his pain, in the midst of his grief, at the midst of losing all of this, he says, God, I praise your name. Now you'd think life couldn't get any more difficult for Job, but it does. The next moment, his body is covered from head to toe in boils and sores. He's just gone through an emotional grief. Now he's going through physical pain. And he sits in a heap of ash, crying and weeping in pain, and his wife turns to him and says, why don't you just curse God and die? His wife, his partner, his support, says, why are you still worshiping the supposedly good God? Why don't don't you curse him and die? And Job says, you don't know what you're speaking. You are speaking foolishness. God is still good. But eventually Job reaches the end of his rope. And I think a lot of us can understand where Job's coming from. He comes to this point where he goes, you know what? God, this is not fair. Why are you doing this to me? What have I done wrong that you would cause me all of this pain? I wish I had never been born. And Job begins to have this dialogue with God where he just presents his complaints towards God, and God responds. And God says, Job, where were you when I laid the foundations of the world? Where were you when I laid the cornerstone upon everything that I would build? Job, I am God. I am holy. I am just. I am good. And Job stands back and looks in awe upon God and says, God, you know, I thought I knew who you were before, but now I see you. I see you are a holy, righteous, and good God. And I praise you even more. See, at every circumstance in life, whether you're going through a big problem or a small problem, it's an opportunity for us to grow in our faith. It's an opportunity for us to draw closer to this loving God and have the fullness of joy revealed to us. I want to encourage you, whatever you are going through right now, this is an opportunity for you to draw closer to a God who loves you and wants to reveal himself to you. Experience the fullness of his joy in your life right now.